Hey everybody, this is my new and improved office tank, and I'm going to put a little bit of food in it for the time being. We're going to watch a little bit of feeding action going on, see if the dwarf gourami in there comes out underneath that light nice and prevalent. I've also got that rainbow shark in there I'm hoping we'll get to see come out swimming around looking a little more prevalent. But what the video is actually going to be about is we're going to do a filter change on the tank, and it's a simple hang on the back filter, so it's not going to be complicated or difficult. And what I want to talk about is the type of filter I'm using. If you will notice, this tank looks remarkably crisp and clear, and that's partially because it's a brand new tank, and even though a lot of the stuff that's in the tank was previously in my office tank, most of that gravel, the plants, the decor, honestly the only thing that's different is the temple plant on the right, and if you'll notice the sort of large brown rock with the flat rock leaning against it, those two to the left are new to this aquarium. They were in other tanks before, so they have been in tanks before, but it's been a while. They've been downstairs and dry for several months. So nothing in the tank really is going to make it dirty necessarily. You're not going to see a lot of detritus floating around or anything like that. On the other hand, the tank looks really pin sharp clear. Part of that also has to do with the lighting. I've got that LED on there. It's got those blue diodes. It gives it almost an actinic look. Really makes those neons pop. Really brings out the blue in the dwarf gourami. But it also makes everything look crisper and clearer and sharper. Ultimately, however, it's the filter I put in there that is making the tank look the way it looks. When I first got into fish keeping and was super enthusiastic about everything, which is kind of why I'm thinking about it, this tank has got me enthusiastic about it again. I've actually been sitting here quite a lot today just watching this tank and enjoying it, and just the fact that I'm doing that in itself is making me smile. I don't remember how long it's been since I've just sat and watched one of my fish tanks. You know, just the amazingness and the awesomeness of the fish tanks has sort of worn off for me over the years, and I don't just sit there enjoying them. I do stuff with them, I tinker with them, I make sure everybody's okay, I watch their behavior, I shoot videos about them, but very seldom will I just sit down and just tune the world out and just watch my fish swim around and enjoy the interaction and enjoy the tank. And I've really been enjoying this tank since I set it up yesterday. It reminds me of the same enthusiasm I had when I first got started. So with that enthusiasm when I first got started, I always wanted my tanks to look great, and I thought you needed to put the carbon filtration in there and all that stuff. And one of the types of filter material I bought was material that was sold as polishing pads. And it's just a fancy way of saying it's a really fine filter. I think it's supposedly filtered down to 5 microns or 10 microns or something like that. We're almost talking about to where you can start filtering individual algal cells out of the water, and that's why they call it a polishing pad. And they made the tank look amazingly clear. But what I found was that they were a lot of money, and you could buy like a sheet of it, and I don't even remember the cost. It's been so many years since I've had it. So this is what the polishing pad looks like, and it has like it's almost like a plasticky sort of coarse texture on one side, but this almost feels like matted felt material or something. So what I did long ago when I cared about this kind of water clarity, I went to the good old Wally World, Walmart, and went to the fabric department where I get my backing. If you'll notice my lovely purple backing in this tank, you just go to the fabric department and you can get this material. It's probably meant for lining the back of quilting material or something like that. Now it doesn't have that sort of plasticky feel, and it is just like a polyester material, but I mean you can get rolls of it for $5 or $6. And when you put it in the tank, you get the quality of water you're looking at right now, because that is not the polishing pad. That is the Walmart material that I just showed you that I got for a couple dollars for yards. You know, I don't even know what it is, maybe $1.99 a yard or something like that. And by yard, I mean literally 3 feet by 3 feet of it. You can make a lot of little, you know, 6x9 filters or whatever size they're going to be. So what I'm going to do is cut myself a little segment here, and we're going to go through my filter change. But now I'm going to tell you about why I don't use these on any kind of regular basis and why I put one in here yesterday. So first of all, I think that's probably going to be a little small. Let's cut another piece. First of all, when I set the tank up yesterday, the water was already clear. There was nothing in it. You know, as I said, I rinsed all the stones off. That's no biggie. You don't have to worry. No panic. There's actually a plastic jar of pretzels I just knocked down. This is not normally where I cut up filter material and whatnot. I'm trying to do it while I'm shooting the video here. So when I set the tank up, the water was nice and clear and everything, and I took a little bit of the stuff that I've got that's poultry grit. It's crushed coral and crushed oyster shell, and it was the last little bit I had in a bag, and I mixed it in there just to give my water a little bit of mineralization. And when I poured it in with the last little bit in the bag, it just turned the tank to like milky, cloudy water. So it was clear in the sense of like there was no detritus and bits of food and fish poop and stuff like that. It was just cloudy with this sort of dissolved milky color. And so I said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead. I wanted to shoot some video of it last night, and so real quickly I wanted to clear that cloudiness out of the water and just get the tank looking this kind of clear. Now, I'm not, when I say cloudy, I'm not talking about cloudy from bacterial blooms. I'm talking about cloudy simply because I had dumped this sort of, you know, imagine I dumped a bunch of crushed up chalk into the tank, and I got that kind of cloudy water, just sedimentary type of material suspended in the water. And I wanted to get that out quickly so I could shoot some video of it last night and have it looking crisp and clear and beautiful. And so that's what I did. And so what we're going to do is I've cut a new little piece of it, and we're going to wrap that around the filter in a moment. But we're going to have a look at what this filter looks like after a mere 24 hours. And that's 24 hours of being in... I have to move my plant for a moment here. Remember, this is 24 hours of being in a tank that really wasn't dirty. This isn't, you know, a ton of stuff going on in here. And we're going to see what that filter actually turned into in that short period of time. So it might not be too bad, because remember, what I pulled out of it was just white cloudiness. It wasn't any other kind of dirtiness. But I don't know how well that's coming out. That's pretty dirty for one day of being in there. So the way I do this is I simply take the old filter off. If you're not familiar with these style filters, it just has these little flaps that fold down and a little plastic horseshoe clip that clips it in place. So you unfold those, you take your old filter pad out, or if it's one of the socks that fits over it, you just slide it off. And then what I do is just fold this over. I don't even go all the way around it. I just fold it over so that it's enough around the back on both sides so that the back side of the clip and the front side of the clip fold over it and hold it in place. And as long as it's being held in place, that's my filter. So you can see it doesn't even fully cover it. And I put it so that the water flows through from that way and out the front side here. And so we're going to go ahead and just slide that right back in. And then all I got to do is replace the top of the filter. And put my plant back up on top. So that was after one feeding and basically the tank sitting there overnight. I fed the tank last night, and then of course what you just saw me put in there a minute ago, but I'm not really counting that as far as, you know, what got in that filter. So not terrible, but it gave you a good idea of what a mere 24 hours of that filter. So imagine if you've got a tank that always has a lot of detritus swirling around in it, and you know, it looks like a lived-in tank, as I like to think of it. To me personally, that crystal clear water, as nice as it looks in a certain sense, it also kind of looks unnatural in a way too. To me, it looks too pure and too clean. Very seldom in the real world do you see water that's that clear. You do, but very seldom. And even in water that's that clear, if you see fish that are in it, when they swim or they move, they kick up stuff off the bottom, and they kick up detritus or debris or sand or something. So having something in the water, you know, if you're going to obsess with trying to have that pure, crystal clear water, then using some filtration system like this, again, doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to be expensive, you don't have to use the carbon or anything like that. You can simply use this sort of felt-like material that you get at your local Wally World, you know, your local Walmart or Joann Fabrics or wherever you buy you know, cloth and material like that. Same place I buy my filter batting material, and you can use this as a material, and you'll get very much clearer water. Now again, in my case, I'm not too worried about it because I'm not going to come in here every 24 hours and change that filter out. So after a few days, you know, that'll be that. This tank will be reestablished, all the fish will be in there nice and happy, the tank will start to look a little more lived in. Very soon we're going to start to see some algal growth, we're going to start to see some, you know, some green stuff starting to develop, and pretty soon it's going to start to look like all my other tanks. We're probably going to get that green biofilm, cyanobacteria stuff growing in there, and it's not going to be long before I'm shooting videos of me siphoning that stuff out of this tank or doing a, you know, chemi-clean treatment on this tank. It just gets in my tanks, and it's going to be in this one too, especially with that intense LED lighting on there, with all that high energy blue lighting. I'm just begging to have algae and stuff in this tank. So we'll get there, but in the meantime, I think it looks pin sharp right now. It is crisp and clear and beautiful. So I thought I would share it a little more. I thought I would discuss how I got it that way, and if you want to keep your tank looking that way and you don't mind the high maintenance labor of getting in there on almost a daily basis and changing those filters out, because you really will have to. Kills me watching those endlers chase those giant female guppies around. Of course, they look giant compared to the endlers, not, you know, by any other standards, but it is funny watching them chase those females around. So, at any rate, make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss anything I got coming up. You never know what it's going to be with me. Some days I shoot 2 or 3 videos, like today, for example. Other days you just get whatever I throw out there. It might be a simple feeding video or something else. You just never know what it's going to be with me. So if you're subscribed, you won't miss that or anything else. So thanks for watching. Don't forget, this one is my new and improved office tank. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you real soon on the next one.